Perfect.
Record the combo. Hey, what's up? We don't need no damn interruptions. You know. Okay, so yo, so check it. You remember Biggie?
Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Welcome back.
What's up, y'all?
We
Hey,
love y'all. We
yo, so
love
I'm in the
y'all.
middle.
We miss y'all.
So I was in the middle of telling you or asking, not the rapper. Do you know who? If I say Biggie, you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, little black chihuahua they used to have.
The little tiny dog. So dog. So my mom had a great name for that motherfucker. You know what she would call him?
Mm-mm.
La Rana Seca.
The dry frog? Why? Why'd you call him that?
Well, why? Because he was skinny as fuck. He was a chihuahua. No matter how much I fed him, he was just bony. And it's just, I always thought that it was funny that she would just go that imaginative route, calling the fucking dog a dry frog. So I would imagine, because I have a pool. I grew up with a pool when I was a kid, and I don't know if you remember, but like at nighttime we'd have a symphony of frogs start. It wasn't pretty. They didn't say ribbit. They went. And it was crazy because right next to the big window in the room that overlooked the pool
Yeah.
was like tall hedge of like palms, and right up against it, you would always see on the ledge of the window these frogs, bro, and they would just, obviously being amphibians and being able to blend in, they would always take on the color that was similar to the wall. So you would see these frogs, bro. You wouldn't see them for a while because they're well camouflaged, and those motherfuckers were like nearly white. They were like super light gray, crazy shit. And every once in a while, frogs don't live forever, so you'd find a dead one, and chances are, it's like I wouldn't see it, like it wasn't in the part where most people would walk, so you would find them dry as fuck, and they would dry out pretty quick, and it was just la rana seca. Yeah, man.
That's super dangerous to dogs, man. Because I know a lot of dogs decide to get their curiosity out there when they're in the backyards, and a lot of dogs die from biting on frogs because
Yeah, the thing, what you got to do, you got to, like, if you like suspect, if you don't see a frog but you see a dog like fucking panting or foaming at the mouth, you got to, like, obviously try to clean their mouth. You know how hard that shit is, but you put a hose in the dog's mouth and you just flush it out as much as you can, and obviously rush that motherfucker to a hospital if you could. But I remember I had a stray cat that would basically our cat, like he was just like.
I remember that cat.
But no. This was way before your time, actually. It was this orange and white cat. Obviously,
the one I remember you guys had was like a darker color.
Nomino.
Like black and white.
No, that wasn't a stray cat. That was my mom's cat. She was just, she let it go outside. And interesting thing about that cat was that when she first got it, it was pretty much an indoor cat, but she started letting it come out or go out. And the first couple of times, that motherfucking cat returned, beat the fuck up by other cats, right? They were taking its food, they were fucking kicking its ass, taking its lunch money. And dude, before long, because he was a big cat, and he wasn't a kitten when she got it. She adopted it as like a grown-ass cat. That cat probably weighed like 15 pounds or more, probably. And bro, that cat became the boss of the neighborhood. Like, whooping ass, dude. Whooping ass. He was getting fatter outside than he was inside, because he was just eating inside and then going out there and eating all the other cats' food that, like some of the owners would leave their the food outside for the other cats. And he became the boss. No, but this other cat, his name was Tiger. Yes, very creative name for an orange and white cat.
Was he a king?
No, it wasn't the Tiger King. I see what you did there. You're so funny, bro. Yo, dude, so I love this cat. This cat was super friendly. We'd leave food out for it, whatever. Stray cats are the best, because if you get a friendly one, you get all the fucking benefits of a cat, except you don't have to take it to the vet unless, you see a fucking an emergency happen. But dude, this cat, we walked out one day and it was just way too late, bro. He had bit a frog. He had bitten a frog. And homeboy was just already long dead. He wasn't even like clinging to life. He was long dead. foamed up, still had like active foam around the mouth. And I don't know if I ever found the frog, but there's really no other explanation unless maybe like my parents went out there and you know, left some poison out for the cat. Because no, I'm just kidding. I
You
like the
made a
cat.
frog. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it was a frog. You know, we fucking
Throw away the cat food.
yeah. I later found out that those frogs that were by the window were porcelain frogs. They were fake the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was a decoy. But yeah, bro. So picked up the shovel, scooped up the cat, put him in a bag.
I thought you said you were gonna bury him in the backyard. I was gonna say that.
I didn't have the only like dirt or grass area that we had in our backyard were like we had a bunch of, remember we had like palm trees and plants and all this shit, and so there wasn't any room to bury it. But I'm gonna tell you a last cat story. So it's kind of sad because we actually like this cat a lot. So we had this cat here in our apartment complex, and this cat was old. We didn't know it was a male, a female, whatever. But it was really old, really friendly. It would stay in the parking lot right across the street. And so some people would feed it. I think it belonged to like a neighboring house around here because the backyard of a lot of people's houses on the other side give to our parking lot. So whatever, we'd like say hi to it, pet it. And then little by little, people on our side, because you have to cross the street, they took a liking to the cat, and some people would leave cat food out on their balconies, or you know, no big deal. And then some people fucked up and they put it in one. They put some food out and they left it out in one of the main entrances. So I get a call from my landlord or the property manager, not the owner, but the property manager. She started straight up asking because she knows that we like animals, and we actually had a dog in here one time.
They try to contact you.
They hit us up. They're like, "Hey man, are you feeding a cat?" And I'm like, "No." They're like, "Do you know who it is?" And I'm like, I had an idea who it was. I wasn't gonna fucking snitch anybody out, but I was like, "Look, I don't know who's feeding the cat. We're not feeding the cat." Oh, because it's fucked up. You know, she didn't really use that language, but she's like, it's messed up that, you know, people are leaving food there, whatever, the pest. So at that point, the cat had been around here for years and years and years. Didn't bother anybody. As soon as somebody fucked up and left the food out there, they had it out for the cat. So you know, we can't confirm, but we think that they poisoned the cat, because after long, or before long, we started seeing no signs of the cat. And so this lady that I knew for sure fed the cat across the street was pissed, bro. And she thought the same thing. So she actually got the cat as she saw it kind of like getting sick and shit like that. And I'm like, oh, whatever, maybe, you know, the cat was just old. But coincidence, it was a little bit too much coincidence.
Too much of a
coincidence. And so she took the cat to her apartment and kind of nursed it to the point where it just declined in health and the cat died. But here's the best part. Not that was good at all. That's actually say, no. The story gets good part. The story gets better. So, you know, unless my property manager, you know, watches the podcast, which I seriously doubt.
Never know, man.
Dude, she the lady got the cat and buried it in the parking lot. It's so funny, dude, because it's like these people try to get rid of it, so now they're gonna have to ghost a fucking feline over here.
Cat, but shit.
A piece of cat just gonna haunt this place for generations to come, dude. So the cat's somewhere there. I don't know where she buried it because it's just mostly asphalt. There's a couple trees, but the roots are kind of thick. But no. So Tiger, the cat that I had back in the day, the stray cat. I didn't know this was illegal, but I was a kid, and my parents were like, "Hey, look, you know, like scoop up the cat, go bury it somewhere." Not that you could do that either, but I fucking threw the cat in the garbage. It was already dead. I didn't really know how to dispose of a carcass, and I threw it in the garbage. The only thing that I hope is that, like, it was garbage day, because if that shit was left there for a couple days, that shit was stinking up to.
So you were gonna have the FBI and the CIA.
Yeah.
It smells like something's dead here.
Smell feline. Expired about 5 days. Yeah, dude. That was you get those
Someone
weird
missing a
stories
cat.
that you look back on, bro. I cried like a motherfucker when I was a kid, bro. I love that cat, man. And now you look back and it's just one of those teaching situations, and it's funny though, bro, because I remember just like as much as I love that cat, dude, I was just like, ew, bro. And I had the shovel and I was like, ew, can somebody hold this bag? And I had to like, and ya estaba tieso. The fucking cat was a little stiff. Oh. I had to put him in the bag, and then I had to like feel the cat's body in the bag as I'm like spinning it, so I can then tie a knot. you know,
Slapping it in the ass, like, yo, go, go, go.
Yeah, dude. No, that's the same spin that you give dog shit when you finally pick it up with the bag. You know, you gotta put your hand in the bag.
All that, bro. Listen, I pick it up,
Like,
I take it through, and I'll tie the top up. I ain't spinning this shit.
you gotta spin the thing.
This ain't the Ferris wheel, baby.
You gotta do the prices right. You gotta go click, 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 click.
Nigga, it's just gonna land on everybody's car outside. Shit.
That shit was the most annoying shit, and I always wanted it to land on 100. Remember the prices right?
And it'll always be like
5.
I'm like, what? How did that even catch that speed?
100 was right here. It's like, yeah, back over here. It was just like, bend the whole way and just go whamp, put it back.
And if it was on the 100, and for some reason it'd be like,
hey, is Bob Barker still alive?
no, I think he died.
Really?
Everybody's dying, bro.
I mean, Bob Barker was.
Look at all the people that live. I'm putting them on the screen as we're talking, so y'all can see all the people that died. Well,
No, Baba. No, man, don't write the boy Bob off. Bob Barker is 97 years of age.
You sure Bob Barker ain't dead?
Oh, I'm looking at Google, bro, and Google's never wrong.
Google lying to you, cuz.
Look at this man. Show this man that beautiful guy that kept me company whenever I'd stay home from school with that song. We don't have the royalties for it or the licenses, but I
We'll get our show pulled off so quick.
I could do a rendition called Big Dot Ba-Dee, Beep Bop Ba-Doo, Beep Bop Ba-Dig-It, 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 Beep Bop Ba-Doo. Ooh, ooh. That was a jam, dude. That show, boy, especially when you see those people get called up, they will go fucking nuts, out of their minds. Hey, don't forget you're doing a recording over here, buddy.
I'm over here trying to look when the heck did he die. He's 97 years old.
He's not dead, stupid. Over here, you're trying to look like a picture.
I'm sorry, you guys. I'm sorry. But I will look, you see all these people right here? We can't see it right now, but trust me, it's there. So yeah, I guess he's still.
Oh, I see what you're doing there. See, the thing is, I don't.
Your likes.
I don't edit this thing. Alfred's the one that does that, and he's already planning to put.
I already have everything lined up, like this beautiful Lion King up here. Cigüeña, mamma mia.
Gaviota.
Hey man,
can you tell me what a gaviota is?
When we can advertise what?
No, bro. What is una gaviota?
Gaviota, isn't that like a gaviota, like a
bird? It's a bird. I know that much.
No, it's like a sea. It's like a seagull, right? Like a seagull.
Seagull. Okay, I can buy that.
I think it's a seagull. I don't know.
So, dude, what's up?
All
right. So last show we talked about what was happening with the stonks, the stickity stonks.
The stonks.
And so obviously you are the one with more knowledge on that than I do right now. So can you kind of tell us how that has progressed and what the fuck is going on?
It's gone downhill like fucking. I can't tell you how bad it's been. Listen, I got burned. I try to make a quick play. I'm like, oh shit, let's jump on. I'll put a little money to play. I went ahead and put a little bit of money to play on that AMC, on that BlackBerry, on that GME, also known as Game Stonk, and I got burned.
But so how'd you get burned? Why'd you get burned?
Well,
was it just you guys thinking that it was gonna start raining candy?
No. Well, the thing about it was this is the funny part. When it started catching real steam and it's starting already like getting kind of like beginning to the news and the headline and more people started picking up on what was going on. I said, you know what? let me be part of the movement because yo, a lot of people went through a lot of suffering back in 2008, 2007 when they lost their homes, they lost their businesses. A lot of people
I know.
killed themselves,
It was a tough
and
time.
the bankers and the hedge funds got bailed out. You know, nobody went to jail. They didn't lose basically no
Short.
money.
Talking about the Big Short.
So a lot of these people got away with basic criminality. I say it's criminal. You go ahead and steal money like this from poor people, and they got away with it.
Yeah.
Nobody faced any kind of time at all. So I said, you know what, fuck them. You know, big hedge funds already been abusing of us for long enough. Let me go
But
ahead and
that's kind of also like how like I know that Elon Musk was rooting on this whole like movement. There was a couple of other people that of obviously some financial renown. They were doing that, and like I know that what's his name, Chris Kramer, is that his name?
hey Jim
Jim
Cramer for
Kramer.
NBC Money.
Yeah, and I know that guy wasn't on board with that. He was like, "Fucking," he likes the establishment. He likes the status quo.
He didn't understand. Like a lot of these people did not understand the reason what was going on. They're like, I don't, Bob. I don't see the fundamentals of this company having changed. I don't understand why it's being charging at this price. It's not realistic. I'm like, first and foremost, it could be a box and a box of Amazon empty that we're supporting. It doesn't matter what it is. There's a reason why they're targeting these companies because these companies have been, like I said last week, been shorted 140%, 120, whatever the case may be, and they were just abusing. So the little guy decided, hey, let's go ahead and mess with these people's money because they're basically trying to bankrupt this company. I don't say basically. And people started gathering together in a big group, especially on different forums like Wall Street Bets, and it got to a point that a lot of people started following the movement. And even I went ahead and threw some bucks and all right, let's see what happens. Stop. I didn't really care so much at that moment about the money portion. I just wanted to be part of a movement, say, hey, let's take it to the big guy. Because, the big guy is just always being bailed out. The little guy can't ever win.
No, no. I mean, if anybody needs any more proof of how the system is rigged, it literally is, dude. Like there are maybe a few honest features in the system, but when you see what happens, a decade ago or more, and then you see what the fuck is happening now with the stock market and what's happened time and time and time, because this is not the first time anyone's shorted that. Like
No, at all.
and then they dare to really call what the little guy was doing a market manipulation.
Market manipulation is saying that we were cornering a certain asset and we're using that to basically push the market one direction.
The funny part is that one might say that about these people because the hedge funders in the stock market, because those are the people that are not transparent, and those are the entities that meet. It's like kind of like the criminal system where the judges and all the lawyers, they know each other, so it's almost like theater. And it's like a game, right? And so it's the same thing. All these people know each other. They all kind of know what they're gonna do. They're gonna fucking plummet the stock and they're going to buy it like that. And it's something that's a concerted effort. I mean, you'd have to be stupid, and even then you would know that these people are always moving in unison, and they're doing this behind closed doors. So when a group of people get together on what is basically a public forum, and they do it
out in the open,
fine, where theoretically anybody that's actually a hedge funder or someone that's a professional trader like that essentially has access to what the same information that these people have. So their shit was a lot more public. It was done literally in plain sight, you might say. And so in that case, there's no manipulation there because they're just taking advantage. They are doing a counter move. It's like you playing a move in chess and then me not being allowed to make that move. To counter your move and to also, best you in that move.
Yeah.
They made a bluff. They bluffed and they got called and then they got raised.
They got raised and they got raised. And the thing about it was like when it got really bad, that it really turned heels up on the shit was when we started finding out more information. Like the company Citadel and a lot of these people that are backing Robinhood, which I didn't know at the clearinghouse, the people that actually um, kind of like how can I say this? They front the money on some of these transactions, and they're the main people that the transactions and these orders go through in order for purchase and sales. So they're the middleman, kind of in a way.
Right. So clearinghouse fronts the money for who? I'm not really following because I don't know.
How I was explained this whole ordeal was if you're buying an asset, let's say you're buying, let's say 10 shares of a company, and each one is at $100. That's $1,000.
Sure.
If you don't physically have the money as at the moment, and you're doing it on margin, meaning borrowed money, the clearinghouse has to basically have that capital in hand in order to do the transaction while you are able to pay that money back or fill that money. What happened was a lot of people were putting a lot of these orders in through margin, borrowed money, basically. So everybody was borrowing money, but the amount of money that was being used was more than what Robinhood had in capital for margin. And the bad part was Robinhood never explained it correctly or came front and explained the circumstances correctly. So they got a lot of heat, especially when they decided to go ahead and say, we're protecting the customer. Kind of like saying, like, I know better than you, you know, your kids trading here. You know what I'm saying? You guys don't know what you're doing. Let me protect you. I got this. I'm the grown-up here. And people got furious. People, me, myself.
Let me ask you this. That was Robinhood, right? Now, from my understanding, and I want you to correct me where I'm wrong here. That's obviously not the only brokerage that you can trade, right?
TD Ameritrade, Webull, Charles Schwab, a lot of the
Fidelity, for example. Like I buy and I sell some stock very, very, mildly on Fidelity, right? So all of these, are you saying, I mean, I can imagine as much, that most of this shit was happening on Robinhood? Why wasn't more action happening on other?
Well, you got to remember Robinhood's popularity and the reason why it's been going on for the last 2 years. You hear a lot about Robinhood since last year, the year before that, and they became kind of like the it crowd, you know? Oh, you got a Robinhood account? Oh, this and this. Little by little, people are being more diversified when it comes to what brokerage app they're using, whether it's Webull, even TD Ameritrade. Like I said, Charles Schwab is another one. But people have more options. But back then, people were like, oh, I want something that I can have accessible in my hand, and that's not going to charge me commission for every trade. And Robinhood, I got to applaud them for that because they were one of the first ones that they weren't charging any commission that we knew of at the time, which years after they got sued because they weren't being transparent on how they made money. And they make money basically cutting off extremely small percentages off the top of whatever you're selling, whatever cost you're selling, whatever they're cutting off on a very small fraction.
So wait, so I mean, theoretically though, if you trade on Robinhood, let's say you sell a stock, well, somebody else that's on Robinhood could be buying your stock, right, or your share.
Yeah, the thing about it is, sorry, how it works is the general NYCSE, the New York Stock Exchange. Sorry, it's basically the main hub. All these apps, like these smaller brokerage companies, they funnel them, whether they have a clearinghouse or not, directly to the New York Stock Exchange itself. So the New York Stock Exchange is a very high speed transactions in and out. So when you close off a leg basically of orders coming in and out and you blockade it, you stopped. They basically stopped the movement, so they stopped a lot of transactions. TD Ameritrade, I think they did the same thing, that they stopped, and there was a lot of complaints about them also. Weibo, I believe, had restrictions on certain companies, but they were more transparent. They explained what was going on, that it was from above through the SEC, that they were kind of like on limit and restrictions on some of these companies that were these meme stocks. So they couldn't really, open the floodgates and just give you full access to it. So what happened was, as this started affecting the movement of GameStop and everything, we couldn't continue buying at the rate that we were buying to push up the price. Meaning you had an option now. You can't really buy as much, or sometimes you can't even buy. So you can only sell, meaning you're pushing the price down. No orders coming in. Everybody wants to sell, and your only option is to sell.
So is that where the hold the line came from, to not sell?
Not sell, but also the other portion came through, which was market manipulation. Because if you have a two-way street, that's fine. But when you block access to one ways of that street, you're forcing people to go one way now. I can't go that way now because that's part of the street's closed, which is
Well, no, I
buying.
get that. But so what other contributing factors were the ones that have pushed the price back down?
The volume, because it affects it, because the volume of transactions that we needed as buying, it had to basically either match or overcome what the sellers were trying to push. And that's where the problem came to be. If you have more sellers and the volume favors the sellers, the price is going to start dropping.
Okay.
So we were not able to buy as many shares, as many, option calls, and that basically hurt the movement. So it's like somebody pulling the e-brake on the expressway. You're going 90. Somebody hits that e-brake. You're not going to stop right away.
It's gonna burn.
You're going to smell burnt first and foremost. And you're going to continue going, but you're not going to continue at 90 miles an hour. You're going to little by little slow that momentum and to you basically stop. And that's basically what happened. I think I got an email this morning or yesterday. It said, all restrictions. So they started, as the movement started dying and the price started dropping, people started losing a lot of money. They started releasing more information on a daily basis, giving you a little bit more access. Or you can buy now 10 shares. Or you can buy 100 shares now. Today, you can buy this amount of limited shares that, increasing. And I believe today they took off the restrictions for most of the companies. And it's kind of late now. So by you doing this now, you're pissing people even more off now. Because not only did you hurt investors and all these retail investors that were rushing in, now we lost that trust in you as a brokerage, because this is not the first time it's happened. When the major crash happened last March of last year, 2020, that was the moment to buy. That app crashed. And not just in general, I believe also on the laptop it crashed. So you couldn't get in at the peak moment to buy.
Right. So it seems that right when the getting is good, when you want to be active, they just seem to have some sort of a glitch. Something, hey, whoops, drop the ball there, guys. Sorry.
Oh man, we weren't ready for this. Oh,
yeah.
That's a high order flow.
Question, because I kept hearing this one statement or comment from multiple sources that were just obviously just commenting on the story, and I heard it on the Levitard show, and I heard it on a few other things where basically where they would just basically mention how this is going to change things going forward. But they weren't saying this from, I don't believe that they were saying it from the standpoint as just things in general changing, but mostly how the tables have turned a bit going forward. So like the little guy has figured out something. Obviously there's strength in numbers, which is the case.
Big strength in numbers.
But here's the thing. If you have these brokerages, which is essentially the only way that you can make purchases, um, limiting you when there's a real advantage spot for the smaller person, right? Or at any rate, right? Then how revolutionary really is this one,
Well,
time here?
yeah, you hit the nail right on the head. Um, I believe, and I'm telling you, like, it is crazy how much has changed in the last month when it comes to people knowing the amount of power that they have. And people are voicing their opinion, and people are sending lawsuits. But when it came to a movement, this was the first. I don't believe it's going to be the last. This is the first step into people understanding the power that they have as a united front when it comes to moving markets. I believe Wall Street Bets had 1 or 2 million subscribers last week, and they're up to 8 million subscribers as of today, almost 9 million.
Wow.
And it's such a crazy thing that um, Chamath, one of the guys, a big investor, he was saying that
Yeah, isn't he affiliated with Golden State, or he's like a part owner?
yeah, yeah, through the Oracle group. But he was saying that right now, as it is, technically, Wall Street Bets is the biggest hedge fund there is right now, with 8 million people united. You think about it, if everybody goes to move $10 into a company, $10. Now you multiply that times 8 million. That's $80 million just on low orders. That's a pretty penny that could definitely move
Right.
a stock.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And if everybody gets into a company, I know it's gonna sound crazy because you think about it, somebody's gonna get left holding the bag, but there's a lot of people that are gonna make a lot of money. And right now, a lot of people could have had a chance, and I'm pretty sure people were yelling, "Oh, hold the line!" But you think when that thing hit $400-500, that people didn't sell out when they bought in at, $6, $7,
Oh no,
and they
no,
were
no.
up millions of dollars?
But I'd love to know about. I mean, I don't know how much of this would see the light of day, because I'm sure people want to maintain anonymity. But I want to hear some interesting stories of people that maybe put in $2,000 into this thing, and just like literally ballooned their portfolio, and now their cash flow. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, and I'm glad that a lot of people were able to change their life and make um some kind of impact, not just to their life, to their hopefully their community and people around them, their general families. And I was telling my coworkers this week that I wish I would have learned about the power of money, interest, and how the economy really flows, how the markets really flow. And if you would have learned that in high school, I guarantee you I would have started my retirement, my pension, and all that stuff a long time
Dude,
ago.
I mean, just I mean, V and I were having this conversation the other day, where it's not, it's understanding the economy at large and what moves it, and how much of an impact the market has on things, and how little people are actually clued into what's happening. You work for whether it's a Fortune 500 company or one that is just publicly traded, and you are an asset to the company, but you don't really have any skin in the game, you know, and again, you can really affect even your own trajectory with the jobs that you have, due to, say for example, and this is just obviously with very rudimentary knowledge of this, but I'm just thinking of more conceptual ideas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say you are someone that is a laborer, and you're in the energy field, and you have been working in fossil fuels and petroleum and all this stuff, right? And obviously it's very politicized, but you have a situation where you have a little bit of money saved up, if you do, or if you're somewhat interested in the stock market, and instead of reinvesting in what you do, you start reinvesting in what is potentially your what can end your industry. One would say this has to go in this route anyway, because more importantly than the markets, it's the environment. Because without the environment, we have nowhere to exist to actually be a part of a market. So
Yeah.
you'd say, okay, I've fucking been in petroleum my whole entire life and fossil fuels and shit, but I'm gonna invest in solar, or I'm gonna invest in electric vehicle
That
company.
that's called hedging. Because even if you're going and you're working in fossil fuels, in oil, you can hedge your bet just in case it goes south when it comes to fossil fuels. Let's say they basically stop fracking, stop doing this, stop doing that. No more drilling. We're going all full EV, electrical solar panels. We're going all electrical and all,
Right.
we're changing the movement of how we're preserving our planet.
Right,
You
because
already
think about
hedged your bet, so you're kind of already putting some money over there. It's like
it's
a
called
50-50 shot.
It's really a contingency plan, but even more so than a contingency plan, and even more so than hedging your bet, it's dictating where this place, this the direction of the economy, of the environment needs to go. And I'm obviously getting very big, and again, it's a big concept, because
Yeah.
you would say most people don't have that kind of foresight, where they only say, hey, well, I got to pay the light bill, or I got some medical bills, or I got blah, 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 all these things, right? And you're like, okay, but let's say they do think that far ahead, and that hedging is important, because or the contingency is not really a contingency, because you have a plan A and plan B, where you're trying to turn your plan B into plan A, not waiting for plan A to fail, because by that point it's too late.
It's too late. Exactly.
So
Exactly.
theoretically, exactly the way that I understand that companies benefit from the stock market and from their stock prices increasing, and it's not just to pay off or pay dividends to your shareholders, but it's to reinvest in your company. So if you have all of these, companies of what we're considered tomorrow, that really should be today and yesterday, like EV and solar and wind and all these things, to continue to have energy provided, but also at a sustainable rate, it's uh, like they're reinvesting, so they're gonna hire more people. So like it's where the thing needs to go.
Exactly. People don't see it that way sometimes. People
Right.
think that a healthy bottom line for their company, that they don't technically have to. They already know what their ideals are, and their building blocks for what their company is gonna do. No, we're comfortable here. No, you have to continuously change and evolve with the times. And right now, like you said, you have to invest not just in your business, but in people. Because to me, I see it like this. Give me, I'd rather have a startup company than a Fortune 500 company if you give me the hardest working group of people that I can get. Because I know I can build up to that. If you're already started up here and you're lacking a lot of that people, those key people with those skills and that drive that you need to sustain or even further excel, you're not gonna be able to support yourself up here.
For sure. I
Oh,
think you bring up a good point, because this is another topic that I think of often, because it's now we're getting to that turning point in history, right, where we live in an unprecedented time and an unprecedented civilization, globally, really, but more importantly, ushered in by the United States in many regards. Whether that is in democratic ideals, in just sheer dominance on the world stage, whether it's military or whether it is economic, whether it's what have you. The United States, and yes, of course, there have been wars and there have been things like that, but generally speaking, it's been a pretty peaceful time, and I hope it continues. I hope that this
yeah. Let's hope that it stays that way.
of course. But you think, like obviously, like a place like Rome, like get dropped off thousands of years ago when Rome was in its heyday, somewhere smack dab when it was really, really like conquering and flourishing and things like that, and tell it that it was going to basically collapse at some point. And they would have been like, "You're crazy! Like, look at us, but we're the mightiest people in the world, and how would that even come about?" And so the same thing, you think about here, and with the markets, it's like, okay, like like GE, you were telling me, I'm sure there's still blue chip stock, but still, like, you still have, like, how long can these companies that have been on top in an unprecedented, like, economic time, through unprecedented means, like, everything right now is still setting a precedent. And how long does it go for? You hope for the stability of the world and for the betterment that we continue to move it along. It can't stay the same way that it was 50 years ago, but it has to. How do you maintain that? And how you're saying that you rather have a startup rather than a Fortune 500, because again, you have that hunger and you have that R&D and you have that investment, reinvestment, and things like that. You say, okay, this is great, but you still want the Fortune 500s to kind of maintain stable, because
no, I mean, you're very right. You want those pillars of the industry to sustain and hold their ground, but I have a feeling that the general way that we see America and some of these companies, things are going to change. You're going to have a lot of these upstarts that are going to come through and blaze a trail for a different kind of movement. Like, we're talking EV. Tesla's done something. Tesla right now has passed most of these in market cap. I think it's the leader in automotive in the world. It passed Toyota, which was the top one at the moment. So Tesla's up there. I mean, if you see the price for Tesla's shares at this moment, they're like $800, $900 a share.
On a side note, can I mention something real quick? I know that growing up, when you were like, you had a Nissan, and you had a pretty interesting Nissan, and you were always talking about the drift culture and shit, and JDM really. And I was like, I've never been super like gearheady, or I mean, I've enjoyed looking at cars, but I have become the biggest fan of Toyota for some reason. And it's not because of their like amazing, groundbreaking vehicles, which it's just because they're so fucking damn reliable, bro. They are so damn good. Like I get online because one of the things that I like aesthetically, there's really nowhere to go unless you like mudding in Miami. You don't really do a lot of overlanding here or off-roading unless you have like, a trail that's not filled with water. But I like off-roaders, dude. So I've been looking into I have some equity in my car because I own it outright, and it's got low miles, and I bought it for way below market value. I want to kind of like see what I can do with that, and I look at Land Cruisers, right, and I look up, bro, and we're not even gonna mention the ones from actually they're discontinuing the Land Cruiser in America, but we're not even gonna mention newer ones because I will mention them, dude. They retail for about $83,000. $80,000. Like, you would think a Land Cruiser, really? I mean, I would have put it at like 50 because that's where things are. And I'll tell you, dude, I will look at a 1995, a 2003, and we're talking 10,000, 2003s with 256,000 miles selling for $14,000. Nice. These motherfuckers don't lose their their value. And so I started trying to do a little research, and the same thing with 4Runners. You get a fucking really well-packed 4. You see a 4Runner from 2005?
My mom had a 4Runner, a 2003. Beautiful car, beautiful. Ford.
Oh, it's super reliable. It's a 4x4 in many cases. Like, they make rear-wheel drives for 4Runners, but in Florida you don't really need a 4x4. But dude, it's
unless it's hurricane season, because here we flood real quick.
but you don't need a 4x4 in the flood. You really just that's only if you got to go up and down, like things,
But the tree branch,
urban core in Miami is always streets anyway. There's no mud to get into unless you're like in your own property. Like it's not like you live out in the country maybe if you live in Homestead and you got a big ass property with not a lot of the shit is paved and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
bro, super expensive. And it's and I'm doing the research and it's obviously like, and in many cases they're kind of bare bones. It's not like, but there's their reliability and they're very capable. So obviously on the sidetrack, I've become and V was like, "You're gonna love Toyota," because when I started dating my girl 10 years ago, basically, she had a little Yaris, and then now she has a Highlander, and the Highlander is not a new, it's not a spring chick. It's like 2006 or so, with like 150,000 miles, and that baby hums, dude. And I kind of want to get my hands on a Toyota, bro, just because I see the value going up, more and more on some of these
I
cars, bro.
mean, there's still gonna be at least, I would say, at least 20 to 25 years that ICE vehicles are still gonna be of good use and need. Before everything is said and done. Like China, I think has by 2025, they want to go ahead and go all full EV on the sales of vehicles, which is going to be very tough.
But what you're saying, like, do you think it's the plan of the majority of the world that at some point the internal combustion engine is no longer in production?
I believe in it's going to be the main focus. You're going to have like working vehicles, like special tractors, this, that. Yeah, they're going to have gasoline vehicles, but for the general commute, I think they're going to try to reduce emissions in every single country to try to bring that down to help save the planet, bro. Because, like I said, we only have one planet, bro. If we let this one go to the shit, I don't know if you've seen that movie with Matthew McConaughey.
No, I know the one with.
I love Interstellar, and listen. The reason why I love Interstellar so much is that there's a classical touch to that movie, and I love the music. The soundtrack is just.
That's Hans Zimmer, man. Hans Zimmer is like the man.
My God, it blows me away. Like when you start thinking about everything scientifically, how they break it down, even to the dust storms that are going on. And that's another thing that's a real thing in regards to dust storms. There's always this battle between the forest and the Sahara Desert. Like here in Miami, we get particles of you. I don't think you remember a couple of years ago we got that bad dust that we had here from the Sahara. That wind, that dust that they picked up.
At some point last year, we had a big Saharan dust cloud.
Yeah.
With the Atlantic, and I was kind of rooting for it to a degree because I know that dry air and the dust kind of inhibits big storms from
because it basically
makes the atmosphere drier.
Yeah, so the humidity that helps build up the big storms is not as strong, which is great. In the Dominican Republic, they were showing me pictures. The sky was pink. The sky was just beautifully pink because of the dust and the sand.
That's crazy.
And that's why I said, I'm like, bro, we only have one planet. If we don't protect it and start, canceling out these ICE vehicles and focusing, like we were talking about the companies, on more restrictions when it comes to the environment with these companies. And people are going to always fight that. No, but I need to make my money. I need to support my family. I agree, yes. But there has to be a better way that a company can continue producing without the effects of the pollution and what it's doing to its natural habitat where the company is operating from. So we can't continue this trend of 1990s Bill Clinton era. Everything is going up, the market, people are earning, everybody's making money. Let's go, green, green, green. We got the piper out our door. You got to pay the piper, yo. We were partying all those years. Now it's time to, act like a grown up and fix our mistakes and fix all the damn shit that we did wrong for so many damn fucking years. I'm sorry to curse, but sometimes you got to get just upset and say, like, listen, I know that sometimes we enjoy talking and laughing, but at this point, this is a moment that I have said, you know what? This is my thought. and this is as angry as I can get, is that we've fucked up everything that we touch. You know, from not being considerate to our grandkids, to the kids, you know, to our future generations, and always thinking, you know, our grandkids are gonna pay for this.
Of course,
We
dude.
are the grandkids of the people that messed things up from back in the
Yeah, and
'70s and the
it
'60s.
only gets compounded. It's like interest, bro, because that problem was
Yeah.
already there, and the problem was made even worse. I was hearing this biologist talk about, you know, it's a biologist that kind of specializes at the moment in locating potentially extinct creatures, uh, and you know, doing what they can to, you know, either get them to get the numbers back, you know, to somewhere where they're no longer, you know, in either
On
extinct.
the extinction list, yeah.
Yeah, dude. And it was, they were talking about how um it's crazy because like they were talking about shark attacks, right? And they were like, there's this place in California that the previous year was the highest year in the last 30 or 40 um for shark attacks. And so they were like, okay, so what do you think is causing that? So he's like, well, there are a lot more sharks in that water in this particular time for a longer time. Why? Because the water is warmer. So there's
Yeah.
necessarily no need for that migration to where they would normally go at particular times of the year. What happens? Because of that as well. So it like the ecosystems, and there's so many different ecosystems in different in every part of the world. It's not like one, you know, thing. So they were talking about how like those have like they're starting to eat up a lot of the like the sea lions, and then like with less sea lions and there's less controlling certain other things, and then you get less birds. It's insane, dude. Like it just
Everything affects everything. It's like the polar bears. The polar bears, because the ice caps are melting a lot earlier in the year, they can't, you know, some of these polar bears are just dying because where they go to feed on seals and all the other animals that are being able to get, that they migrate through portions of Antarctica and all that.
right.
So now they're being kind of like stuck in between, and they don't know. They're kind of
Not
look,
just that, but you have the risk. Say exactly, you know, if we're just talking from the human perspective here, you run the risk of having more human interaction
thank you.
with.
I was about to say that they're wandering off into more human society areas,
Yeah, bro.
like
Well, these
because
motherfuckers out
their
there like,
lack
yo,
of food
I
in
got no
certain areas. They're
food.
like, yo,
It's not that cold over here. They're all, you know, there's nothing to hunt. Let me go look for this shit over here. You know, it's crazy, bro. And like that
places
again.
that they used to be scared of going into
Oh,
because they were very.
yeah, but you would
Now they're
see.
being more less cautious and more. I'm just hungry. Like I'm gonna take this chance and go into this area
You gotta survive. You gotta
and
survive.
you know, kind of like they're testing it, testing,
Yeah.
see how much further they can get out.
And you know what? Here's the thing. Like, there's this question that gets asked of Ron McGill on the Levitard show all the
Oh, I
time.
love Ron McGill.
He's bro. He's the best, dude. And I'm so glad that they still all this time, you know, they've had this relationship with the guy. So he talks about one of the animals. They are like, okay, if you can get rid of one animal, you know, that is just absolutely a pest, and you know, it's like, what would you do? What would you get rid of? And he talks about like it's still would seem like an easy answer. He's like, I don't know the ramifications, but the first animal and the only animal that really comes to mind is the mosquito, right? And you're like, fuck, because the mosquito is the animal that has caused more widespread death than any fucking poisonous snake or spider or shark or fucking bear or tiger. All those shits combined because they spread malaria, brother. They
Yeah,
spread fever. They spread all sorts of
and
diseases,
dengue, they spread a lot of stuff.
especially in developing nations where you know, like, well, fortunately, we don't deal with malaria that, you know, here in the United States.
But they
But
still do in India and other parts like of Sudan
or
and
and those places are super full of people. But here's the thing: so you're like, okay, you get rid of that, but what primarily feeds on mosquitoes? Bats, for example. People don't realize how important bats are to any ecosystem. First of all, again, they keep the number of mosquitoes at a manageable rate. But then you also have the fertilization of a lot of they're basically the bees of the mammals. You know, like they eat, they shit, and that fucking they're dropping guano is motherfucking is super rich for the soils. You know, it's just crazy how everything is just boom 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 like
And
this.
when they're eating the seeds, as they're eating, they drop them into areas where they're flying over. And I
Exactly.
didn't know that. And they were explaining to me that they help reforesting the forest
Yep.
by doing that. Some
Absolutely, bro.
animals
So
do
it's
that.
like, yep.
Like the majority, I think they were saying, I'm not sure if it was 60 or 70% of some of the trees in New York National Park over there at what's the park called? Uh,
A
God
national park
gracious.
in New York,
Yeah, that big park that they have in
in the
Manhattan.
city,
Huh?
Central Park. That's not a national
Central
park.
Park. Yeah, I blanked out. Central Park. A lot of these trees that are planted there, you know who's planting them? The squirrels. Squirrels dig up the walnuts and they dig them, and they forget where they left the walnuts. So they
Yep.
keep putting walnuts everywhere, which in turn,
I've actually never seen that until recently. This past month, when we went to Savannah, and it's crazy how squirrels in different cities will act different, bro. Like over here, they just dip, they get up on that tree. Bro, you see these little guys, they're picking their little shit, and it's the first time I've ever seen a squirrel burrow or dig their little acorn or walnut or whatever he was eating, and he's digging it up into the dirt and covering it up and just dipping. He's like, all right, I'm gonna save that for later. I'll bring
yeah,
it
they
back.
keep leaving it for later and they never come back when it's.
And he said he gets
Um,
back. I don't remember a tree being here, bro. Who the fuck with this shit?
who did this? You did this, Tony?
Tony, explain this,
No.
you know, bro. So it's crazy, kid. And we're living in crazy times where we're very singular with our views on things, and even the people that are finding some solutions, bro. It's just there's a lot of, and it's like, and I love humanity, bro, and I have still faith in it. But the more people, we got a big population, bro, and so if you think it's hard to get 100 people on the same page, it's harder to get 1,000. It's harder to get 1,000,000. It's harder to get 1 billion. It's harder to get 7 billion of
but
people.
but I definitely agree with what you're saying there. But if you were to tell somebody about climate change 5 years ago, and you tell the same person something today, I guarantee you they're more receptive to listening to you today.
100%, because I think that some people are always going to be the bearers of news that not everybody wants to listen to, or because the ramifications aren't right there in front of your face, you're not inclined to be like, oh, this guy's got a point. The honeybees are still here. Not that they know they were really associated with climate, right? So then it's like, okay, when you've been talking about it for this long, and in that span of time, what would normally happen in 100 years has happened in 10. Then I'm like, oh, okay, wait a minute. I think
We
you
need to
might have.
slow down.
I think you might have a point. You
You
know,
remember the Al Gore special, Inconvenient Truth?
I never actually saw it, but I get.
It's extremely. I saw it. It's extremely interesting, and it foreshadowed so much of what's going on that it's like, if you guys don't do this, we're heading towards this. And I'll tell you this, it's something crazy, and I need you to go ahead. I'm gonna look it up and I'm gonna send it to you as soon as I'm done here. There's some documentaries about Miami and Miami Beach in particular, Florida, that are they're battling. They're battling to try to save Miami Beach. Reason why? The water, the level of the water and the tide each year is surpassing its level of last year, and there's more flood zones, and they're having to issues with pumping this water at night out, having more king tides, having a lot of problems when it comes
Here's the
to
thing. King tides are gonna happen anyway, because it's just the way that gravity works.
yeah, with the moon and everything and how the planet rotates. I get it, but we're at a point that if you think about it, Miami Beach in the next 100, 150 years, it's not gonna be there.
And it's crazy because we keep getting development. We keep getting.
It's that I don't understand. And then when it comes to the point that you need to selling, it's gonna be like that GME stock. When it's at 450, it's beautiful to keep buying. Everybody's excited because it's going up. What happens when the price starts coming down?
Yep.
Exactly what's gonna happen to the realty. I'm telling you right now.
Because dude, let me tell you, if you look at a lot of these articles written, there is so much being made up of the fact that, bro, even now with like tech, like you hear a lot about like tech companies considering, South Florida, the place to that they is the next place that they're going to start, setting roots down in, and all these things, and one would hope that, okay, maybe you can bring some of that influence, but even then, I feel like the ground in Florida just can't support that many people, dude. It's like this.
It's scary, bro.
Besides, what are you gonna do? Build more into the Everglades? That shit's gonna fucking disappear. And here's the thing: that water that is being pumped back into Biscayne Bay, guess what it's doing? It is, you just say pollution. It's a very general statement.
It's
the odd thing is what we had this year. Did you hear about? We had something called a fish kill, and so
there's certain reasons about that, and crazy enough, I know it's gonna sound crazy, and I actually watched a documentary about this yesterday. I did my research on it yesterday. The sand from Sahara also has to do with the red tide. Red tide meaning the mass killing, because the oxygen level in the water drops to a certain point that the fish basically suffocate.
Well, the red tide is not just the killing, it causes the killing. The red tide is because there's a bloom of red algae.
Yeah. And it's being carried by particles of the sand. But also we have
hang on though, because a lot of these things that happen it's not that it's new, it's just that it's being expedited by climate change. Like, look, the world warms up and it cools down. We've had several times of ice age and of global warming, but the fact is that never at this rate.
It's getting hotter in the summer, colder in the winter, and exactly like you said, at this rate.
Are you sure it's getting colder? Because every single year that I can remember in the last 7 years, there has literally been a report saying, well, this summer was warmer than last winter, or this winter was warmer than last winter.
Well, I don't know. Did you see what was going on? Because you know that they're gonna have a Super Bowl in Tampa, right?
Yeah.
You didn't see those videos of those construction workers in front of the stadium at the dome over there in Tampa? There was ice on the roofs, and the people were just recording the ice that built up overnight on top of the roof. Okay, and they're like, it is snowing here in Tampa.
Yeah, but it never snows in Florida, so I'm not gonna say
it snowed, I think, once before.
I mean, we even had flurries once in Miami, like in the 70s. But
yeah,
it's like, okay, what are we to do with that though? Like, I mean, there are, like, for example, there are more propensities in the northern part of our state in Florida to have crop freezes over the winter, because we're very humid, right? So during any given moment, especially like in central, especially in northern Florida, that water is going to get cold, and if it drops quick enough, it's going to freeze. But now, do you see snow? That's a different story. Do you see flurries? Because that's a whole nother weather thing. Like, I can put ice in my freezer, it's gonna freeze.
I'm pretty sure if you put ice in your freezer, it's already frozen.
Well, that's right. I can put water. That's what I meant to say.
Water, yeah, I get you. Okay, so man, I mean, we hit a lot of good points today. I think that it's good that sometimes, we love having, a good laugh here and there, and we have a lot of stories, and but sometimes we have to address the elephant in the room, and what's going on with social awareness of the stock market, people as a group uniting, our natural environment being affected by these companies, climate change, even politics and how it's being conducted today. Everything all in one word is just evolution. It's just evolution. We're in the midst of it, and it is scary. Like you said earlier, we're in unprecedented times, and I would never in a million years have thought that we would be at a point that we would be as, for me, I'm gonna let you speak your words and how you see it, but for me, I'm more concerned and not nervous, but a little bit worried now because I'm like, things are changing at a speed that I'm like, I don't know, because tomorrow is not as predictable as past years was. It's like I can't assume things are gonna be here or here.
Right.
They're already 4 or 5 steps ahead of us, so it's like
I'm gonna tell you something.
Oh.
Just to add to that point, it's okay. So my girl and I've been together for quite a long time. We're talking almost 10 years, and we have a phenomenal relationship, partnership. Everything we do is always never not in unison towards what we ultimately want, which is just to be together and live life and tackle things and achieve goals and just be together throughout the whole thing. But one thing, unfortunately, we don't get asked this question very often. But we're at an age, and we have friends that have children, and it's not the only reason. But let me tell you, bro, bringing a kid into this world is a bit scary. I think that I know a lot of people that have been less prepared and much younger and less experienced to have children at the age that they did than the one that I have now. So it's not so much of a means to taking care of a child and mature, maturity wise, ready to do that. But it scares the shit out of me to fucking bring a kid into this world, because I think that we got to figure this out, dude. Like we have to figure out a way to not just hand them a piece of shit. And it's crazy because
a piece of avocado on that plate.
Yeah, dude, that avocado, was it that brown sugar, bro? It looked like a straight up dookie. Like it wasn't even fully formed. You could tell that guy's stomach hurt a little bit when he shot that out. And it was just literally avocado. I showed Albert a picture of it. I'll show it to you guys now if you want to see it. That's kind of disgusting. I know I should, but it's not shit.
It is avocado though.
Think about it, like when we talk about again the person that works in the energy field, especially in what we're trying to fade out, which is petroleum, which is fossil fuels, which is all these things that create greenhouse gases that that warm up the climate. And it's in their best interest, first of all, in all of our best interest, but also theirs, to maybe invest their time, their money, their efforts into maybe the same energy as well, but just something totally different. That is the way of the future. But the grand point that I want to make is just the fact that instead of focusing on so many things that are on the outside, everybody's got an interest into pulling away from the center. Gotta rush to the center, dude. And what's that? And I know that people talk about topics, but I don't see a real concerted effort into what really matters, which is something that we should all be caring about. You always have to ask yourself when you're doing something, so you're not spinning tires, you have to ask yourself, what is the point? I usually call it the end game. What is the end game of all of this, right? What are we working towards? Because a lot of the times you ask yourself that question, and when you really analyze it, what the fuck are you working towards? Nothing. You're working towards nothing. Instead of and then you can really realize, hey, let me switch it up. Let me dedicate my time to something else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just too many people, bro, and not we're not really being unified to that front. We're all just told what our differences are, and we're worried about that, and it just, all this shit is happening, and in the meantime the world is still going where it's going because of us. You know what I'm saying? The world's like,
Yeah,
hey,
it's not, I mean, even if we were to correct the path on a lot of the things that we're doing at the moment that we're doing, I would say, still wrong, especially with how we're emitting all these greenhouse gases and not protecting the environment. Even if we were to just say today's the day, bah, whatever we're implementing today, it's still gonna take years for us to see some kind of change in the path that we're headed.
yeah, no, you're right. You're right. And I think for real meaningful, lasting change and really to turn it around, because you could be going in this direction, you really got to stop the car, do the 3 point turn, so to speak, and start going back in the other direction. But I mean, I don't think that we could help, but we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about, and we'll leave it at this. Bro, the world was fucking rebounding a little bit, bro. When everybody was stuck in their houses for that part of the quarantine, where everybody was really in their house and not really going anywhere, and there wasn't a lot of emissions, and
I saw that and I saw some of those reports, and you were very right. You hit it on the head.
and it was pretty quick. The world, it's like, think about it. The other day I was going underneath the 836 overpass and 836, 826, and it's a relatively new overpass. I think construction started on that like about 10 years ago, and they finished it a couple of like maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And I'm already seeing plants come out of the middle part of like tiles or like the cement, right? In when you go on the side of this highway.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's because people actually, get sent out there, and they trim these things, and they put the little fucking chemicals to kill the weeds. But bro, if we just stop for a minute. There used to be a show I was telling you about this called if all humans disappear. Remember on the History Channel?
Yeah, I love that show. And it shows you like 10, 50, like 100 years, and they're like, by this point, this has happened.
Yeah, bro, it's crazy, and it will get overrun by nature with a quickness, dude. With a quickness,
the planet would heal itself, and
it was gonna go. We don't know where that is. Like maybe again, the planet has warmed itself and cooled itself many times. It's a cycle that happens, but it happens over millennia, and over millions of years. In the grand scheme of things, bro, humans haven't been around for that long, and humans in the civilization that we've been in have been around for even less, in what you would think is a blink of an eye.
I think you just opened Pandora's box.
Oh shit.
And this is something I want everybody who watched this episode, including you, Jay, to think about this. In this planet, how many times do you think we've been at this point with humanity?
I mean, it's unprecedented territory.
Now think about think about this. You said it yourself. Our planet has gone through cycles, and it's taken over millennia to go through them. How many times do you think the birth of each individual civilization has come through, has done the whole machine and evolution of industrials, and gotten to this point, and then get flushed back out, and then waited for another system to come back?
I'm gonna do the work for everybody. But it's still worth and worthy of thinking about it at length and in depth. And it's the only time. You wanna know why? Because the Industrial Revolution is not even 200 years old.
We sped up through that.
No, what? Industrial Revolution, 1860s, 1870s?
Locomotives, horses, and then cars.
So you got the steam, and then you have, electrical power was not what it is now, but steam and then.
But think about the speed that we're evolving in our technology.
It's never happened. I mean,
it's like between here and here, we were using locomotives. Between here and here, we're using fuel. between here and here, we evolved from here to here, a smaller time frame from the first laptop to having a phone in your hand. Now the next step is going to be a shorter distance of quantum computing and AI.
Yep.
We're getting to a point that and I hate to say it, it's going to be scary as hell when, and there's a lot of companies right now that are working on artificial intelligence. When that Pandora's box gets open,
right now, damn, bro, I think we should leave.
I don't think you understand how crazy.
We should leave some for the next episode. I gotta be honest. There's a whole lot. Well, we can talk about AI all you want in the next one because that's a deep well. That is a deep well, my friend.
So yeah, so we appreciate everybody for coming through today. It was a little bit more somber of a note to the podcast today, but it was good to go into deep thought and break down a lot of things and a lot of concerns that we have and a lot of input on how we see things moving forward. But Jay, I'll leave you with the final word, brother.
Not much, bro. Just want to, thank you for tuning in. Whoever, all y'all that watch this, and if you guys have any ideas or any, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Damn, I feel like a dude saying that, but please, it helps the channel.
It really does, man. Listen, we're new to the game, but the same token, we have a lot that we have.
We don't see ourselves this way, but we are some old motherfuckers in this game, dude. We're the old guys, dude. Not gonna lie.
Look at that fancy stash, Mr. Guap.
All right, y'all. Peace.